Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. Happy Thursday to all of you. I am really sorry that I had to cancel our extra session for today due to family circumstances. Nothing bad, just having my goddaughter is in the process of being born today, so I'm really sorry that we couldn't have our 1 o'clock session, but I wanted to send out this recording because you are going to be reviewing algebra today. So I have A and B up on the board. I would like you to go ahead and read the question and read A and B, all right, just to get us in the mindset of solving algebra problems. Okay, so take a minute and go ahead and read those. Okay, everyone, so let's go ahead and see how we solve A and B. So it says a farmer sells tomatoes at a vegetable stand. Each pound of tomatoes sells for the same amount. The table below shows the total prices for different numbers of pounds of tomatoes sold. So we can see our table here, okay, where we have our tomatoes, we have the number of pounds sold, okay, and we have the total price, all right? A asks us to write an equation that describes the relationship between the number of pounds of tomatoes sold, and they're giving us the variable x, and the total price y in dollars. So it wants us to write an equation where we use x for the pounds of tomatoes sold and y for the price in dollars. So we have to look at this table, and really what we have to determine is what is the unit price of each number of pounds sold? Okay, so if we went ahead and we looked at this first option here, we have 2 pounds and our total price is $5. What we really want to look for is if 2 pounds costs $5, what does 1 pound cost? And then how can we write an equation so that we can plug any number of pounds sold in and be able to determine the price in dollars? Okay, so I hope you have a piece of scratch paper out. All right, so think about that for a minute. How do we do this? Okay, how would we write an equation so that we could describe a relationship between the number of pounds of tomatoes sold, X, and the price in dollars? Okay, so I hope you're thinking about if 2 pounds is $5, how much does 1 pound cost? And then how can we create an equation so that we can plug any number of pounds sold in? All right, so if you're saying to yourself, if 2 pounds is $5, then that must mean that 1 pound is $2.50, right? If 2 pounds is $5, then that must tell us that the unit price is 1 pound of tomatoes is $2.50, right? $2.50. So now, how do we write an equation? How do we write an equation? All right, so I'm going to pull up this blank document here just so we can write on it. All right, so going back to the question, it said to write an equation that describes the relationship between the number of pounds of tomatoes sold. Okay, so that means that pounds, all right, is going to be our X, and our price, I'm just going to write a little $sign here, is going to be our Y. Okay, so if each pound of tomatoes is $2.50, how can we then write this equation? All right, it's really quite simple, right? If X, all right, is going to stand for the amount of tomatoes sold, can't we just say $2.50 times X, okay, meaning the pounds of tomatoes sold, is going to give us our price Y. All right, so we could test it by going to the table and looking and saying, well, if our equation is correct, then when we plug 2 in here, it should equal $5. All right, so if we have $2.50, all right, and let's let X equal 2, all right, we'll let X equal 2. Does that equal $5? And we can just tell by looking at it that it does, right? 250 times 2 is $5. Okay. All right, so our equation would work. So $2.50 times X equals Y. Okay, so all we have to do, guys, is find a unit rate when we're looking at a problem like this. Okay, we're finding the unit rate. We're looking at what will work for the table. Okay, make sure you're looking at what your X is and what your Y is. Okay, so number of pounds sold is our X. Okay, pounds of tomatoes, our total price is Y. All right, going over to B, it says the farmer also sells green beans at the vegetable stand. The equation below can be used to find the total price, P in dollars, of pounds, and they're using the variable G, of green beans. Okay, so a very similar equation, right? So we have P equals the price in dollars is equal to 1.75 times G. Remember, whenever we have a variable that's right next to a number, that always means to multiply. Okay, it always means to multiply. So our question here is, what is the total price of 17 pounds of green beans? Okay, what is the total price of 17 pounds of green beans? Well, if you plugged in 17 for G, which is our pounds, you are going to get the price. Okay, so go ahead and plug 17 in for G. Okay, take a minute. Plug 17 in for G. And you should get a total price. All right, and if you're thinking, you know, what does this 1.75 stand for? Okay, yeah, the per pound cost, right? The per pound cost of the green beans. Okay, so 1.75 times our 17. Okay, if you work that out, you would get 29.75. Okay, remember when we multiply decimals, if you did this longhand, we remove the decimal first, we ignore it, and then we add it back in later by counting how many places. Okay. All right, so $29.75 would be our total cost for B. Okay, the $1.75 is standing for the price per pound for green beans. Okay, good job, everybody. Good job. All right, so I hope we're in our algebra mode for our lesson today at math. Before we move on to your overview for the day, there's a couple other things that I wanted to review. I did grade the 12.2 practice test from the other day, and there were 2 questions that I wanted to review. Okay, so this one really threw some of you guys off, so I wanted to make sure we reviewed absolute value. This one said, which is the equivalent to absolute value of -20? Okay, remember guys, whenever we see these brackets, whatever is on the inside, okay, whether it's a negative or positive, we're talking about the distance away from 0 on a number line. So the absolute value of -20 was D. It's just 20 units away from 0. Okay, some of you guys chose -20. Okay, and I'm not certain as to why. The negative was inside the absolute value bracket, so that means that it's saying what is the absolute value of -20. what is the distance away from 0 on our number line? How many units? And it's just 20. The only time you would have a negative is if you had a negative on the outside of the absolute value brackets. So if it said something like this, right? All right, and what this would say is, what is the opposite of the absolute value of 20? Notice that the negative is on the outside, okay? So we would say the absolute value of 20 is just 20, but we have to carry over this negative sign here because it's on the outside of the brackets, okay? So that would be negative 20, okay? If you have it on the inside of the absolute value brackets, okay, it's different. What you're saying here is, what is the absolute value of negative 20? And that, again, would just be 20. Okay, do you see the difference? You have to carry what's on the outside of the absolute value brackets. Okay, so if the negative is on the outside, then you have to carry it over. If the negative is on the inside, what you're saying is, what is the absolute value of negative 20? Okay, notice there's nothing here to carry over. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. The next one was, which expression is equivalent to 28 plus 35? So you had to use your knowledge of the distributive property here, okay? So remember, what's on the outside of the parentheses can be distributed through to the inside, okay? So each one of these, guys, is basically like saying, let's take this and distribute it through and make two multiplication sentences. Okay, and we were looking for what is equal to 28 plus 35. Some of you chose A, but you didn't go far enough. Yes, 28 times 1 is 28, but 28 times 7 would not give you 35. Okay, it would give you a really large number, like 196. Okay, but if we distributed this, B, 7 times 4 gives us 28, plus 7 times 5 would give us 35. The correct answer there was B. Remember, you have to distribute to both parts of what's on the inside. Okay? Both parts of what's on the inside. So looking at that again, all right, we had 7, 4 plus 5. Okay? If we use the distributive property, this is like saying 7 times 4 plus 7 times 5. Okay, we have to follow our order of operations, right? Order of operations, so we have to do all of our multiplication first before we can do our addition. Okay, 7 times 4 is 28, okay, plus 7 times 5, which is 35. So we were looking for the equivalent here, and the correct answer there was B, not A. You didn't distribute the 28 to the 7. Okay, so I hope I clarified that for you. All right, those are really the only things that I wanted to go over today, besides the open-ended. I did send the solution to number 10 to you if you submitted lesson 12.2. Okay, some of you guys were very confused as to how to solve this. Okay, remember, all right, when you're looking for something that contains this keyword greatest, right? What is the greatest number of packages Mr. Harris can make without having any items left over? Okay, 48 pencils, 30 notebooks. You had to find the greatest common factor between 48 and 30. Okay, the GCF, that will tell you in each package how many pencils and how many notebooks were in each package. All right, so you were looking for the greatest common factor between 48 and 30. Please see my solution in lesson 12.2 if you did not already. Okay, I did write out the solution for you. Right, for the rest of the day, guys, I hope that you had a chance to look at your day. Okay, in language arts, you have a literary text structures and making inferences assignment due. Please make sure that I get that. In math, you have your expressions and equations. You guys can go back to your ebook, all right, if you need to review the algebra unit for lesson 12.4. Okay, please make sure that you submit that. In science, you have a Jeopardy review and a Quia game. And in social studies, you're building an empire. Okay, one last thing, guys. I will be out of the office again tomorrow. I have a conference to go to, so there will be a recording for tomorrow on your calendar. Have a fantastic rest of your day, guys. Bye.